I think the answer is much simpler than it first seems. There are two completely different problems that often happen at the same time. The first one is why the oil becomes thick in the first place. The second one is how incredibly difficult it can be to clear the glands once that thick oil has been sitting there for a long time. Sometimes both of those problems are happening at the same time. And I think that's one of the main reasons MGD can become such a long and frustrating condition. For some people, the first part may be the hardest. Hormones, inflammation, medication, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, or many other conditions may affect the quality of the oil. But based on my own experience, I also think there's another possibility. This is just my personal opinion after watching my own eyes very closely for more than 2.5 years. I don't think that poor blinking always needs another underlying problem to create a significant MGD. Imagine your meibomian glands are producing a certain amount of oil every day. That production doesn't automatically adjust to how often you blink. Your glands produce oil based on your body's own biology, but blinking depends on something completely different. It depends on your habits, your screen time, and your concentration. Sometimes we blink half as often as we normally should. So here is the question that completely changed the way I think about MGD. If your glands keep producing oil, but you are not blinking enough to express it, where does this extra oil go? It doesn't disappear, it doesn't evaporate, it doesn't magically get absorbed. It simply stays inside the glands day after day, month after month, year after year. To me, that alone is enough to explain how stagnation can gradually develop if the glands are otherwise healthy. Of course, we are all different. One person may blink less for years and never develop symptoms, while someone else may develop severe MGD because it depends a lot how much oil your glands naturally produce. So I personally think that for some people, this mismatch between oil production and blinking may be enough to start the whole process. Then comes the second problem, and I actually think this is the part people often underestimate. Why is it so difficult to clear the glands once they've become badly blocked? Before I started treatment, I honestly thought one or two gland expressions would probably solve the problem. But that's not what happened, not even close. It is not like squeezing the toothpaste out of a tube. Those glands may be tiny, but if thick oil has been building up inside them for years, there can be a surprising amount of it, and removing all of it takes time. The comparison that makes the most sense to me is actually the drain pipes in our house. I know it's not the most glamorous comparison, but it's the closest thing I could think of. When our house was new, everything worked perfectly. The pipes weren't perfectly straight, but they stayed clean for years. And then, little by little, grease started sticking to the inside, not overnight, over many years. Eventually, the pipes became so clogged that cleaning them once wasn't enough anymore. Even after we cleaned them, they were never quite like new again. Some grease always remained inside, so they clogged much more easily after that. But here's the biggest difference. When you're cleaning a kitchen drain, you can turn off the faucet. You can stop pouring grease down the sink while you're cleaning it. You can actually give yourself a chance to clear everything out. With my meibomian glands, you can't. Your body keeps producing oil every single day, even while you are trying to clear the glands. And every night, while you're asleep and not blinking, more oil remains inside. So in a way, it's like trying to unclog the drain while someone keeps pouring grease into it. That's one of the reasons I think recovery can be so slow. At least that's exactly how it felt in my own case. When I started treatment, almost nothing came out during the first gland expressions. They were severely blocked. And looking back now, I'm actually not surprised. If something has been building up for years, why would it disappear after one or two treatments? But here's the encouraging part. Even though my case was severe, I gradually started noticing changes. It wasn't fast, it definitely wasn't easy, but it was happening. When my symptoms were at their worst, I could barely function. Sometimes even talking to people was difficult because my eyes were burning so much. Today I'm recording videos like that. I go for walks, I work, I spend time outdoors, and most days I live a pretty normal life again with only minimal discomfort. That's why I don't think MGD is hopeless. I think it's often much slower than people expect. If your MGD developed over 5 or 10 years, don't expect it to disappear in 5 or 10 days. But that doesn't mean you are not improving. Sometimes it simply means your glands need time to catch up.